What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Rumpier Sports NBA Hardwood Show. We're here breaking down the massive 12-game NBA slate tonight. A little bit of a late start for us here, so apologize for that, but we'll get into it, break it down, and find the winners. As always, joined by my guy, JT Hayes, but more importantly, today, we got our boy C-Dome, Chris Randone here, and not only is he here with us on Friday, but he's kind of showing us up a little bit, JT. He comes in with a cheetah print shirt on, his hair done, not the typical DFS apparel that we're used to, JT. What do you think about that?
Look at this fucking guy. First of all, he walked right out of a Gaslamp District nightclub. Took a few minutes to step in here and talk NBA basketball with us. He was DJing. He still got the headphones on. I love this dude, though. I'm looking forward to every show that we do with him. It's the third one I got to do with him. The only thing you're missing, Randone, is like a silver big fucking C right there, necklace on your chest. That would be nice.
Yeah.
You get one of those next time, but it's a beautiful look.
Yeah, love to see
it. If I ship, I'll definitely get a C charm and get a bigger necklace. I'll be egregious with it.
Excellent.
You just gotta go. You gotta get the whole thing. Get the C dome, and then that will really confuse people. Like, why this guy walking around with the C dome chain?
I might as well be a DJ at that point. If I'm gonna start doing that, I mean, sign me up for a Gaslight District nightclub. I'm with it.
Let's go. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, good to have you on here. Massive slate, like we talked about. Yeah, go to you first, C-Dome. Like, any initial thoughts? I mean, we've got massive news. The Warriors are just resting all their guys today. So the value is absolutely endless, and that will really dictate the slate here today.
Yeah, I mean, the injuries and, the Q tags are now turning into a lot of people starting to sit. So obviously, when you look at the Warriors, I mean, it's going to be really difficult if these guys are projecting like Moody and Kuminga and they're getting 25 plus in their projections. It's going to be hard to rule out a 3K and 3.4K person. And there's also some really good plays as well. There's going to be some opportunities where, these players are really good players. A lot of usage is going to them because other people who garner high usage are going to be sitting out. So definitely going to be interesting to see how we can line up, construct, and build some optimal lineups here.
Yeah, so you got the Warriors situation. We also have James Harden out, and the Nets apparently have said, "All right, Kyrie, you're going to be out for a little bit too after whatever happened with that situation." JT, some initial thoughts here on the slate.
Yeah, it's just tough to get away from some of these values. It's a little bit tricky, maybe with the Warriors. I think we got to wait and see what starters they come out with. Steve Kerr will mix things up. There was a story before everybody got ruled out earlier today that he was going to mix things up because of how poorly they've been playing on this road trip. But it's one of those days where I did a quick look this morning and I was really excited because I identified some 4 to 6% owned plays that were going to be ways to get off of the Charlotte chalk. And now all of a sudden that completely flipped. I don't even know if I can play them because it looks like you're going to do 4 to 6, 3 to 5K guys, and then you're going to play 2 of these higher price guys with the salary that you have left. So change the slate, but nonetheless, people are going to make mistakes. You're going to see people that will probably run out the whole Warriors starting lineup. I think that's a mistake. We'll get into that a little bit later, but definitely still some edge here for us to take advantage of.
Yeah, it kind of forces you into a little bit of a stars and scrubs type build, which we'll talk about here throughout the show. Before we get into the games, do us that favor, though. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It helps us to continue to bring you guys these shows on a daily basis. So hit the like, hit the subscribe. Doing a great job so far. 126 likes. We like that number. Keep it up so JT doesn't have to yell at you throughout the show because he will, and you don't want to hurt his feelings. So
like I'm the bully now, not you.
Yeah, I gotta pawn it off on somebody else. You get to be the bad guy.
Yeah, I'm the guy. Usually we're softies. We're like, all right, we'll give you the plays of the day. Hoop is like, nope, Simon, Josh, get us out of here.
Yeah, so we don't want to run into that situation throughout the show. So just hit the like. We'll get into it though. 12 games, a lot to cover here. We got the Heat, we have the Pacers, 227 total. Miami favored by 3.5 in this game. And the big news here is no Jimmy Butler, and that's pretty substantial. Obviously, for the slate, it's a good matchup for the Heat, a pace-up spot against the Pacers. On the Heat side, I mean, I've been talking about this guy all season long, and people just don't like playing him. I'm just going to continue to play him, and it's Kyle Lowry. He plays a shit ton of minutes. He's been shooting the ball, and he also, fills up the peripherals as well. Look at last time out, a good matchup against Sacramento, 37 minutes, 42 fantasy points. I love Kyle Lowry. I like Tyler Hero. Better play on FanDuel. He's 7K over there versus a 7.6. Bam Adebayo is officially listed as questionable. I think he will play tonight. He's 7.7 on DK. And then on the Pacers side, not a ton to like. I think Halliburton's fine if you're going to play a lot of these Heat guys. Buddy Hield at 6.1K. But for me, the premier play here is going to be Kyle Lowry. Love him, 6.3K. I think just a very safe option. Loses a little bit of appeal with all those Warriors guards that are going to be in play, but still at 6.3, I love Lowry tonight. JT, thoughts here, Heat Pacers?
Yeah, the Heat side, I mean, Lowry, that price point, it's kind of, I guess it's a decision between him or Tyrese Maxey, who we'll get to, or I guess you could play them both. Bam, interesting here. Dedmon was a midday downgrade to questionable. So if Dedmon misses, you have to like Bam here just that much more with this really good matchup against the Pacers' interior defense.
Yeah, absolutely. Randone, thoughts here, Heat and Pacers?
Yeah, I think on the Heat side, you just got to think like who benefits most from Butler out. Bam is probably looking like the most solid option, especially on DK, 7.7K. With Butler off the floor, Bam's averaging 1.1, over 1.1 fantasy points a minute. And then Lowry is actually better without Butler on the floor, and he actually has a higher usage rate with Butler off the floor, over 20% usage rate. So probably see more minutes for Strus, even though I don't know if I'm willing to, go that route, considering he's kind of pricey, especially on DK 5,200. I mean, I'd much prefer like Jalen McDaniels, and we'll probably get to those Charlotte guys later. But outside of that, I mean, you could look at Hero. Hero, when Butler is not on the floor, he actually garners like a 30% usage rate. So that's kind of interesting. I could probably see a lot more shots coming from Tyler Hero as well. And then on the other side, if Dedmon doesn't play either, Bam's going to have to probably definitely play not only a little bit more, I mean, because they also have a couple other guys out, Miami, in regards to the front court. They have like, what's his name? You're at 7. He's out, if I'm not mistaken. And then Jovic is out as well. So what are they going to do? Are they going to run Udonis Haslem, for 10, 15 minutes? Like, I don't even know if that's even possible. I know he got some run, I think last game or the game before, but on the Pacers side, I think the only person I would possibly consider is Buddy Hield. He's got a great projection, 6,100. He's going to take a lot of shots. But outside of that, I don't know if I could really rock with anyone else. I'm not really big on Turner tonight, Jalen Smith. I just don't think it's there. So Halliburton, possible for like a GPP, but outside of that, I think that's really all it.
Yeah, Buddy's been pretty solid. I mean, has been under 35 fantasy points in 5 games. So I don't hate him as last guy type in or a build where you're going to be on some of these Heat guys. So I think he's definitely a solid option. Next game, we got the Knicks. We got the 76ers, 220 total. 76ers favored by 3. And this is another game with significant news. Obviously, no James Harden here. And that kind of changes the dynamic of the 76ers team. I've already seen Tyrese Maxey kind of breaking out a little bit. Now he's going to get to play some ball without James Harden. Really solid play, 6.5K. I like Tobias Harris. Much better on DK. He's 5.8 on DK, 7.4 on FanDuel. Love the 5.8K price tag. And then Embiid's questionable. He went through shoot around. I'm assuming he does play. If for some reason he doesn't play, which we'll get the news at 7 Eastern, I mean, you're going to have to just jam some of these 76ers. Already solid plays. They'd become like must plays. I'll stick with you, Randone. Thoughts here on the 76ers and Knicks game?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing you want to look at is probably Maxey's price differential. 6,500 on DK, 8,200 on FanDuel. Clearly, FanDuel priced in, the Harden injury and really what comes with Harden being off the floor in regards to Maxey's upside, right? So if you look at like the data, I think from like this past, I think it was like last year, if I'm not mistaken, but with Embiid on and Harden off the court, there's a usage rate Maxey had over 37%, right? So when Harden is off the floor, Maxey's usage not only is skyrocket, but he actually becomes elite in regards to a fantasy point per dollar player. And I mean, at 6,500 on DK, it's really hard to kind of run away from that. So he's going to get a ton of minutes. He's going to have a lot of upside. I just don't know if like I'm willing to risk, kind of fading him in a sense. Don't know exactly what the ownership's going to be yet, but 8,200 might be a little bit different on FanDuel for people to pay. So maybe there is some leverage there. In regards to DK though, not too sure. Outside of that though, Julius Randle's kind of cheap, but with Brunson in the mix now, the assists aren't what they used to be like last year. I don't know if I'm really liking anyone else from the Knicks side. But outside of that, I think maybe you can consider Shake Milton, possibly, or Melton if you want to go that route. But I mean, I think for me, I think I don't have any problem on DraftKings specifically playing a lot of Maxi, especially if I can get over the field on it.
Yeah, really good price tag, massive upside in this spot. Knicks is tough, man. 12-game slate. I just don't think I can get to the Knicks with all this value and solid mid-range plays as well. JT, thoughts here, Knicks 76ers.
Yeah, Maxi appears to be about $2,000 too cheap on DraftKings. So just a great play there. The DeAnthony Melton play, which looked like a good play earlier in the day, has been somewhat taken over by some of this value in some of these other games. So I think for me, it's Maxi and Embiid if he plays, and then sprinkles of Tobias Harris. He did okay matchup against the Knicks.
Yeah, that Embiid news is obviously big, but I do think he does end up playing. Next game, we have the Nets. We have the Wizards, 222.5 total. Wizards favored by 3. And as we talked about in the opening, no Kyrie Irving for the Nets. Now, obviously, Kevin Durant gets a massive boost, and he's 10.3K. He'll be popular. I absolutely love him tonight. Look at the other guys he's going to be on the court with. He'll get all the usage in the world. He's a phenomenal play. Now, these other pieces on the Nets kind of overshadowed by the value that we have in the 76ers team, the value that we have with the Warriors. So it's kind of hard to get to some of these guys. Edmund Sumner is a guy that would be, I think, a guy that a lot of people would look at if we didn't get that Warriors news. Now he's probably overlooked a little bit. Royce O'Neal has been playing very well, and he'll obviously get a little bit of a boost, but the price tag just not all that appealing at 5.4. Love KD here. Can't get to the Wizards on a 12-game slate, so for me in this game, it's KD or bust essentially. So JT, thoughts here on the Nets Wizards?
The same here for me. Kevin Durant, earlier in the day, I was intrigued by Porzingis and the price on Kuzma, 7K, in that matchup against the Nets. But I just think now the roster construction isn't going to allow you to go with that mid-range type of build. It's gonna have to be a little bit different. So for me, it's Durant here.
Yep. C-Dome, Nets, Wizards.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm just going to lock Durant. Given the data, for him last year with only him on the floor, I mean, he averaged over 1.5 DraftKings points per minute. He's obviously going to have to play a ton of minutes tonight, especially if they, want to be in contention and try to get a dub here. For him, the usage rate is just going to be unbelievable. And they don't really have anyone else to kind of steal that usage from him. I mean, I think it's going to be all Durant tonight. He's 10.3K. I think that's way more than affordable given what we have available for us in regards to value, especially now with Golden State. So for me, at this point, this year alone, he's played around 70 to 80 minutes on the floor without Kyrie already. He's seen about 39-40% usage rate. I mean, that's outstanding. So for me, I think Durant is going to be a lock for me. I think I love this play, a tremendous upside. I don't know yet what the ownership is going to come in at, but it's okay. I mean, for me, I love this play. And then on the Washington side, I don't really see much for me, especially with more and more news that's opening up. A lot of these Washington players are not hitting projections as far as optimal lineups whenever I run some optimals. So I think Durant and Durant only, and Royce O'Neal, maybe if you're looking for a pivot, but price tag's getting a little too expensive now. Can he really pay that off on a point per dollar basis? I think I would want to look elsewhere.
Yeah, and the nice thing about Durant, like he offers a little bit of a price breaks from some of those top guys like Luka and Giannis, and he just has similar upside to those guys tonight without Kyrie in this matchup. So love him. Next game, Cavs, Pistons, 220 total. Cavs favored by 5.5 in this game. 12-game slate, tons of value, tons of good plays. This is a game that is just going to be a pass for me outside of Cade. I'll include Cade Cunningham in my 150, and that's it. I can't really get to anyone else here. C-Dome, thoughts, Cavs, Pistons.
Yeah, I think Cade Cunningham for a GPP play is okay. I mean, he projects well. He does show up on some optimal lineups if you run a ton. But on the other side, surprisingly, Darius Garland pops up a lot. He's 6,900, but he does have an opportunity as far as like one of being the highest fantasy scores on the optimal lineup. He is populating a lot for some reason on DraftKings, and I don't know if that's changed in the last hour because I haven't done anything. But he clearly stands, amongst all the other Cleveland Cavaliers. So if I'm playing any two people from this game, one from each side, Darius Garland, and then Cade Cunningham from Detroit.
Awesome. JT, what do you got in this one?
Yeah, Cade feels a little bit too cheap at 7-7 on DraftKings. On Cleveland, Garland and Mitchell are both questionable. And if one of those guys misses on DraftKings only, I think Karis LeVert is pretty interesting, especially if both of them are out at that price point. He's had a tendency to go nuts when those guys are off the floor. So other than that, not much.
All right, before we move on to the next game, please do us that favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe. 500 watching, we got about 200 likes, so solid ratio, but we can do better. So continue to hit the like, hit the subscribe. Next game, we have the Bulls and the Celtics. Totals 223.5. Boston favored by 7. This game is a full-on pass for me. I don't see any. I guess the only guy I'd probably consider here would be Jaylen Brown, maybe last guy type in, but there's no core plays for me here. Nothing I'm really all that interested in. Any interest here, JT?
No, two fully healthy teams, expensive prices, really not interested here.
C-Dome?
No, nothing just as far as like a fantasy perspective, really does anything for me. I think if you want to do anything, if you want to shy away from some Durant shares, pivot to Tatum if you think that they're in line as far as projection and being able to maybe outscore Durant. But outside of that, it's a no for me.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is you start getting into some of these games and it's just hard to make the cases for some of these pieces. Next game though, I think there are a couple we can look at. We got the Hornets, we got the Grizzlies, 226 total. Memphis favored by 11 in this game. Not a ton of interest in the Memphis side. I don't really think I can get to anyone. Morant has a similar price tag to like KD. I would definitely play KD over Morant. But on the Hornets side, I mean, they're going to continue to be without a lot of pieces. It looks like Gordon Hayward's now out, LaMelo, Rozier, Cody Martin, both listed as doubtful. I think Kelly Oubre is a guy that we can look at, 6.3K, coming off a 40 fantasy point game against Chicago. I think Dennis Smith is a guy that we can include in tournaments, and Jalen McDaniels as well at 4.5K. So I think there's three options here on the Hornet side. Again, tough to label any of these guys as like core plays, but they're guys that I want to get exposure to for sure on this slate. Grizzly side, though, I'm not going to be going anywhere on the Grizzly side. Like I said, you like playing Morant, but man, I like the other studs a lot better on the slate. C-Dome, thoughts here, Hornets, Grizzlies.
Yeah, I think for me, if you're looking for anyone from Charlotte, I don't mind Dennis Smith. But the two guys that really pop up the most for me are Jalen McDaniels and PJ Washington. Jalen McDaniels right now is like showing up in so many optimal lineups that I'm running, and I'm running a lot. So, for me, when I look at this, if he's going to get his 30 something minutes at 4,500, I mean, he's taking 10 plus shots. And not only that, I mean, it's the defensive side too, right? Because, he has defense ability to get blocks, get steals. He's got that length. Sign me up. I mean, 4,500. This is kind of like a situation where if he's able to, get that 30 to 35 fantasy point range, which he projects out well tonight, believe it or not, for his price. So sign me up. I'm with this play. I like it. On the other side, I don't mind, playing Morant. Obviously 10.1K, you can only fit so many stars tonight. But if you want to, be cute and run some, Morant, Durant lineups and be able to kind of sprinkle in all these other value plays, I don't mind that as well. But in regards to anything else, because I do like other areas, You know, I like those guys, maybe Oubre as well, but outside of that, I'm not really feeling anyone else.
Yeah, so I think a few options here for sure. JT, do you like any of these guys here on the Hornet side, and then any Grizzlies for you?
Yeah, McDaniel looks like he was. I mean, earlier in the day, he was projected to be 50% owned. Now that's come down to the mid 30s here, but with good reason, with Hayward out and a fast paced matchup. On the other side, the one guy earlier in the day, like I said, the slate changed, but I still may include him in my player pool at a small percentage, is Santi Aldama. Price all the way down to 4.5K against this just terrible, porous Charlotte interior defense that has given up huge games to opposing centers and power forwards. Steven Adams, big game last time out, but that price is up a little bit. So Aldama is the one that I would look at and maybe include a little bit in my pool here, just because he's going to be very, very low on. You're going to get a huge ownership discount on him.
Yeah. Love that call. Clippers, Spurs, 225 total. Clippers favored by 3.5. On this lab, zero interest in really any pieces of this game. Is Paul George still super cheap on FanDuel? That was the only thing that I was going to look at. I know he's a 9.5 on.
He's 8,800, 88.
Yeah, so somewhat appealing, I guess, over there on FanDuel. I wouldn't pay the 9.5 on DK, but the 88 on FanDuel, I think there's some appeal, but not overly interested. This game will be mostly a pass for me. Cedum, what do you got here?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think it's a pass. No one really pops for the Clippers side in regards to like a GPP perspective, and on the San Antonio side, I think like maybe a share or two of like Devin and Keldon have popped up, but I mean, other than that, I mean, this is I'm really not keen on this one.
Yep. Anything for you, JT?
No, I mean, two generally terrible rotations on a huge slate. I'll pass here.
Yeah, good spot to pass. Raptors, Mavericks, 216.5 total. Dallas favored by 3. And man, for the Mavericks, even on smaller slates, it's like Luka or nothing. And that's going to kind of be the same approach for me here tonight. I mean, he is 12-4, but man, he's having a phenomenal season. We're going to have all the value in the world to get up to him. I want some exposure to Luka tonight for sure. And then on the Raptors side, Siakam just having a phenomenal season as well. I kind of like playing those guys together in a team with like a bunch of these cheap like Warriors guys and some of the 76ers guys, and kind of hope you get a back and forth between Siakam and Luka. It is an expensive pairing, obviously, 12-4 for Luka, 9-8 for Siakam, but could get 120 fantasy points plus out of those two. So those are really the only two guys that I have interest in here. I'll be fading the rest, but I do like that pairing specifically in GPPs tonight. JT, thoughts here, Raptors, Mavs?
Yeah, I'll have a little more interest in Siakam if Van Vliet is ruled out. He's still currently questionable here, so I think that makes a difference. The other pieces are priced pretty heavily now for this matchup, a slower matchup against the Mavericks. And then, I mean, you said it, it's Luka or nobody with this rotation right now in Dallas. So many healthy bodies, everybody playing about 20 minutes or so. So you could fit Luka easily in tonight, and he's going to be probably the lowest or the second lowest owned of the spend ups this evening. So if he goes off, could be really good.
Yeah, people will. I mean, even with all the value, I mean, they still are hesitant to click that 12K plus price tag, and it is a big boy price tag. But people still are a little bit hesitant to pull the lever. So I'm going to make sure to be overweight on Luka. Cedum, thoughts here? Raptors, Mavericks.
Yeah, I mean, Fred VanVleet's back, so it really takes away from kind of what we were able to potentially take advantage of last time with Scotty Barnes and Siakam. You know, Siakam's price now keeps creeping a little bit more and more, and it's getting into the 5-digit range. I'd rather stay on Durant if I'm paying close to this area of the 10K range. So it's probably a no for me. And then Luka's interesting because, you know, depending upon if the ownership is low, I want to have more exposure to Luka, especially because there's a lot more value that has opened up for us. So running, you know, some stars and scrubs, I think tonight for me is totally fine. And you know, if one of those stars is Luka, I don't mind it either, especially if the ownership is low.
Yes, sir. Like that call. I think Van Vliet is officially questionable, right? I was just pulling that up as you were talking. He continues to deal with lower back stiffness and is questionable. So that's definitely something to monitor for sure, because those guys would get a little bit of a boost if he were to sit. So we'll see on that. That's hour and a half after lock, so might not have the news at 7 Eastern. So got something to monitor. All right, next game is the premier game of the slate. We got the Warriors, we got the Pelicans, 227.5 total, and the Pelicans obviously favored by 11.5 because no Draymond, no Clay, no Wiggins, no Curry for the Warriors. All of them will be sitting, and that is why we have endless value on the slate. Jordan Poole, a premier play. Kind of touched on it earlier, though. I mean, Kerr could go a lot of different ways with the starting lineup, but I mean, these guys are still going to play. Moses Moody, Kuminga, JaMychal Green, Kayvon Looney, 4.2K. They're all super, super cheap. They're the best value plays on this slate. It's just a matter of how you use these guys. On the Pelican side, if you are taking the heavy Warriors approach in the 150 lineups, if you're doing 150 or whatever amount of lineups you're doing, you're going to want to take a look at some of these Pelicans guys as well. I think Zion's a fine play. I'd look at some McCollum, look at some Brandon Ingram, just because I know that I'm going to have a lot of Warriors. It's just a matter of how many. And I really think you need, a minimum of 2 Warriors on every team. Probably 3. It's just hard to imagine, a few of these guys not getting there. JT, I'll go to you first. How are you handling the situation here with the Warriors?
Yeah, I mean, you just have to play them right now. The interesting thing, and I go back and forth here because line heavily favors the Pelicans. Pelicans look to be about as healthy as they've been since the season started. Certainly in the last couple of weeks, we know how bad the Warriors have been in the interior. It looks like a great spot for a guy like Zion. We saw Steve Kerr do this with this team last year, rule out the big guys, and we still saw them keep it close fairly late into games. They actually won a couple of these games. AP posted a game log from last year. It was against the Spurs, so definitely not the same level of competition. But Hoop, I think you're right. I think it makes sense to build a few teams, at least if you're multi-entering, thinking that, hey, these guys are going to fight. They're backups. They want to show out, and they're going to keep this game close. And in that case, the guy that I really want is Zion Williamson here. I think he's underpriced for this matchup. He's getting healthier. I think he can steamroll Looney, Kuminga, any of these guys that they put up on the interior. So I will definitely have a couple of lineups that include Zion to go with these Warriors. And then the other point that I'll make about this, because we were talking about this, about how guys are going to jam in the entire Warriors starting lineup, or 4 of the starters and 1 of the backups. You get a lot of value here in some of these other games as well. Talk about the value that opened up on the Portland side of the ball. We've talked about Charlotte. I think there's a path here to say, hey, I only want 3, max 3 Warriors here, and take your chances with these other value plays and not go all the way up to the Luka, the Giannis's. That's the approach that I'll be taking here.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 12-game slate. I mean, there's going to be some big performances by cheaper guys that are not on the Warriors roster. So, yeah, I think it does make sense. If we're talking a 7-game slate, you're going to open it up a little bit more. But on these bigger slates, 4 Warriors, probably not optimal in GPPs. Now, if you're playing cash games, for sure, go ahead and jam 4 of these Warriors guys. I mean, 3 out of the 4 that you play are probably going to get there. So, cash games is a little bit different. GPPs, especially large field stuff, you really need to be careful about how you do it. But I really do think in these situations, especially if you're doing 150 teams, it just makes too much sense. Like, you need to get some exposure to the opposing team. Now, do the Pelicans blow out the Warriors tonight? Yeah, probably. But in the case where they keep this game close, which could happen, you're going to want some of these Pelicans guys. It is unfortunate because, like you said, they are kind of at full strength here. And on a 12-game slate with a lot of injury news, you don't necessarily want to be targeting teams at full strength. But the fact that I know I'm going to be heavy Warriors, I want a few of these Pelicans guys. So you don't worry out here in this game.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're definitely going to want some Warriors, especially, Jordan Poole, given the fact that the rest of these guys are out. He projects very well now, and the usage rate is probably going to be pretty high from him. He's going to take a lot of shots. I actually love him here. It's 6,500 on DK, 6,500 on FanDuel. He's projecting for potential 40 plus fantasy points. it's kind of a no-brainer. 7x. Yeah, I think for me, Jordan Poole is definitely a lock. And then, it's like JT said, having a few of these guys and you could rotate them and get different and try to switch up different lineups, especially if you're running GPP. So I don't mind any of that. And then on the other side with New Orleans, yeah, I think Zion is a great play. And, they looking like that they're starting to be full strength again here with the lineup. So I don't know how much exposure I'll have, but obviously these guys can run and, it's a high total and this is a great opportunity. So yeah, I think for me, there's pieces here from this game that you're definitely going to want.
Yeah, my guy Mike in the chat with it might be JT. You can tell me your thoughts on this. Might be comment of the year from the YouTube chat. C-Dome is going to get an insane amount of box tonight in that shirt while him and JT Eiffel Tower the entire state of California. Just such an elite comment. Such an elite comment.
The only problem with it is I've got a good size, but I am all the way in Georgia. So it's gonna be tough for me to get out there in a few hours to Eiffel Tower the entire state. But
it could be some virtual Eiffel Towers.
A little Zoom or something. But
line up the PJ. I know you got someone connects with the Braves. Tell them to send you over here to do some scouting.
Yeah,
need a special trip.
Oh, it's such a good comment. Appreciate that one. For the likes, where are we at? We're at 250. Got 630. Get us to 3 bills, 3 spins, as Big T likes to say, and we'll get you the plays of the day. Trailblazers, Suns, 217.5 total. Phoenix favored by 12.5. Huge number on the slate. Phoenix, I just can't make the case for any of these guys tonight. On the Portland side, no Anthony Simons, which would usually mean, all right, let's go ahead and look at some Trailblazers with Lillard being out as well. But man, I mean, even with Simons and Lillard out, it's hard to justify playing any of these guys on the Portland side. This game is going to be a fade for me. JT, what do you got here?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I think, I'd rather play the Warriors guys than I would Keon Johnson or Shadon Sharp there. I mean, if you wanted to get contrarian, maybe small shares of each, just in case one of these main Warriors guys is the guy that's left out, so to speak. So other than that, though, really tough on the other side with all the news that's come out.
Yeah, not a very appealing game. C-Dome, anyone you're liking here?
I mean, if you want to pivot from, let's say, like a Moody or Kuminga and go Keon Johnson, shooting guard, small forward eligible. Keon Johnson, believe it or not, last year got put into these types of situations. Everyone else was out in the lineup. Watford is also out tonight, so that'll probably won't affect him. Could see 28, 30 minutes. I mean, in small usage earlier this year so far, I mean, he's shown like a little bit of an upside. So if he has more minutes on the floor, there is the possibility there. So I guess Keon Johnson would be like a pivot type of play for GPP purposes. But outside of that, really nothing for me, to be honest with you.
All right. 2 more games left. Just got a little bit of interesting news. It's Tyrese Maxey's birthday as well. What does that do for you, C-Dome?
I mean, you just lock it in at that point.
Yeah. You got the birthday narrative. Ooh, man.
He's going out. He's going out tonight, ace of spades, he's going to show off first and show out and then, afterwards celebrate. So I'm on the Maxey train.
Love it. All right. 2 more games. We got the Bucks. We got the Timberwolves, 227 total. Milwaukee favored by 3.5 in this game. I guess, Giannis here is coming in at 12.6. We talked about it with Luka. Have all the value in the world to make it work with these studs. I'm going to have some exposure to him. It's a good spot here. They're only favored by 3.5. So maybe we can get a competitive game. That's what you want from Giannis, a competitive back and forth type game. And, Chris Middleton obviously still out. I'll definitely have a good chunk of Giannis, but really nothing else on the Bucks side. Then the Timberwolves, I mean, just a team that I just can't play right now. I mean, they're at pretty much full strength here. And a team that I typically don't play and a team that I'm definitely not going to play in a 12-game slate with a ton of value and solid mid-range plays. So just Giannis here for me. JT, what are your thoughts here on this one?
Yeah, Rudy Gobert is questionable here. So, I mean, it's still, I don't think enough to get me interested in Karl Anthony Towns, though. Maybe get a little bit more interested in Naz Reid, who's cheap as a pivot off of some of these other guys, but really maybe some Giannis, and like you said, that's about it here.
Yeah. I guess Anthony Edwards is also listed as questionable.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's like a real questionable tag or just like one of those. He's got an illness. Illness questionable to face the Bucks on Friday. So I guess that's something to monitor too. I mean, if both those guys are out, Karl Anthony Towns maybe at 8-8. I mean, we're waiting for a game with no Gobert to maybe go to town. So this could potentially be it. Cedon, what's your thoughts here on this one?
Yeah, given the value, I don't mind running some Giannis Luka lineups, some Giannis Durant lineups, or just having Giannis in there in general. 12.6K obviously is steep, but a lot of people don't want to pay that. A lot of people will go elsewhere. Given the value, you can make it happen. Could he be on the optimal? Yeah, of course. You know, a lot of these cheaper guys are projecting fairly well, so I don't mind it. From the Minnesota side, really nothing for me, to be honest with you. So it's probably Giannis. And actually, Drew Holiday has popped up some in the optimals. So just one thing to take into consideration, he's actually doing fairly well as a point per dollar basis. His usage rate is up. So I don't mind Drew Holiday, fitting in some lineups as well.
Yeah, he's been shooting a lot, actually. I mean, it looks like there's some 22 shot games, 19, 18. Yeah, that's an interesting play, especially in this game that has a chance to maybe stay close. So yeah, I don't hate that call. I'm gonna definitely include him. All right, one last game. You guys need to do better on the likes. 666 watching. That's not good to pull up that number, but we need 300. So 17 more. We'll keep it easy for you today. And you definitely want the plays of the day. You got the Eiffel Tower play of the day, and it sounds like JT and Cedon might be like pairing up on that Eiffel Tower. So those plays are even more valuable tonight. Utah Lakers 228 total. Lakers favored by only 3 in this game. Utah, not a team I can get to tonight, but the Lakers. LeBron's only 9.5K on FanDuel. That stood out as a very solid value. I don't think I'll get to the 10-7 on DK, but 9.5 on FanDuel is definitely something that I might be interested in. And then Anthony Davis is 9.1K on FanDuel. That is also something I'm interested in. And 10-6 on FanDuel, not as interested. So they kind of flip-flop. LeBron on FanDuel, Anthony Davis on DK. But those are really the only 2 guys that I'm interested here in this game. JT, we'll go to you. Thoughts here, Jazz, Lakers.
Yeah, same thing here, right? There were a couple of guys on the Jazz that I was interested in terms of price before this news dropped, but that completely changed everything. I'm with you on Anthony Davis. 9.1, price remains the same. He's going to get the same usage. It's a pretty good matchup here against, Kelly Olynyk and Lauri Markkanen and Vanderbilt, who can get happy with his hands. So I like Anthony Davis here.
Cedon, thoughts here, Jazz and Lakers.
Yeah, Anthony Davis, I'm fine with that. But elsewhere, no. I think I'm good. I think, we've talked so much about other areas that this game doesn't really do anything for me in regards to what else is available out there. So
you like the 9.5 for LeBron on FanDuel? That kind of stands out.
What was that?
Do you like the 9.5K price tag for LeBron on FanDuel? It kind of stands out a little bit.
Yeah, you actually could. And if you're looking to pivot, obviously, I always like if LeBron's not going to garner ownership, but yet, he is cheaper than some plays that I actually like. What I'll do sometimes is I'll take some of those guys out and I'll fill in like a guy that has the same capability of reaching that ceiling just like them. So I don't mind LeBron on FanDuel in this situation. So yeah, I could roll with that.
Yeah. We kind of flew through those games. Geez, there's 12 of them, but that's what happens on these slates where there's just, so many clear value plays. I mean, a lot of these games end up being cross off. The important thing is how you handle the Warrior situation definitely on this slate. Want to set some rules. If you just run the optimizer blindly, you're probably going to get 5 Warriors or some combination like that, 4 or 5. So be careful with that Warrior situation if you're building a bunch of teams. Should be a good slate though, obviously. In terms of the likes, you guys got there with the 313. You love to see it. Let's go to Cedon first with his play of the day. I have a feeling I know where you're going with this one, but lay it on us anyway.
Damn, I feel bad because I think, maybe one of you guys might like him too. But, I talked about it earlier. With Harden off the floor, he's got a very high usage rate, 30 over a 30% assist rate. He's super cheap on DraftKings. It's his birthday. We just found out. I'm gonna have to go with my boy Tyrese Maxey, 6,500 on DraftKings. So happy birthday, Tyrese, and hopefully you can take us to the promised land.
Yeah, I had a feeling you're going there. Bam is gonna on track to play, and so is Dedman, but I think Bam's still a fine option in fantasy. Sucks at real life basketball, but fantasy wise, we can consider him tonight. All right, I'll go next. Rich parents play the day. I'm actually going to the Miami Heat game. I'm sticking with my boy Kyle Lowry. He's been treating me very, very well. Coming off a 42 fantasy point game, he's playing a ton of minutes. No Jimmy Butler, filling up the stat sheet. Kyle Lowry as the rich parents play of the day. Then lastly, this is how we end every Friday night. We hop on that Air France flight over to Paris for the Eiffel Tower play. I guess actually, according to the chat, you're heading to California for the Eiffel Tower. So can you clear that up? Are we going to Paris? We're going to California.
It's a domestic flight tonight. I'm going to join up.
Let's go.
Gave us the Puma play of the day, wearing the Puma themed shirt. But listen, it hurts me, Hoop. It hurts me, Hoop, that your last comment was denigrating to the person that I think is just going to smash here. On track to play, too cheap, no Jimmy Butler, a terrible Pacers team, 7.7K on DraftKings. It's tough tonight with all this chalk that I think most of it is pretty good and almost must plays. But Bam Adebayo looks like he's going to be the forgotten man here this evening, and I like him quite a bit tonight. He's going to be the Eiffel Tower play of the day. He's boarding now for San Diego.
Boarding now for San Diego. I should have clarified my comments. I think in terms of winning basketball games, I think he's awful. Fantasy, he's always relevant. I am not knocking his fantasy game. I'm knocking his real life game. Yeah, so I endorse the play. I like, and our guys could pair up too. Kyle Lowry, Bam Adebayo, and then Randone's on Tyrese Maxey, which, man, it's a good price tag, tough to pass up, and then the birthday narrative too. So our guys are getting out to the early start here, 7 p.m. Eastern for all the plays of the day. Make sure you get on those guys. Make sure you tune into the Up to Lock show with Holden, JSU, Big T. Head on over to runpuresports.com. Check those guys out, taking you up to lock, breaking down the remaining news of the slate. That's going to do it, though, for the Run Pure Sports Hardwood show. For JT, for C-Dome, I'm Hoop. Good luck tonight in your contest.